You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steelers Nation. It's The Drive on a Friday here on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you as we get ready for a big weekend. Championship weekend in the NFL,
We're
Matt.
getting a little snow, too.
No, I haven't heard.
Yeah.
Apparently we are getting anywhere from 6 to 600 inches of snow, just wherever you get your weather reports. And I think we're not alone in Western Pennsylvania. I think that's
what's crazy is the other area of the countries that aren't used to it are getting it. My son's in Kentucky. They might get 18. They have no clue what to do.
No clue what to do.
Right.
They get 3 inches of snow, and it shuts everything down.
Yeah. Like all the pipes freeze. Like the houses aren't ready for it.
Yes.
I'm sure they'll stick a keg in a snowbank and have fun.
Oh, the college kids will be good. Yeah. The college kids will be just fine. Steal your mattress out of the dorm room as a sled.
Exactly,
right. And
I'm sure they'll make a good time of it all.
Bury some beers in the snow. But yeah, man, it looks pretty nasty in a lot of areas across the country. So everybody be safe out there this weekend. Don't try and be a hero. Just hunker down and relax a little bit and enjoy 2 games, what should be hopefully 2 really good games on Sunday. We will have really the entire second hour of the show. I feel like we'll focus on those 2 games, preview those 2 games, predictions, different storylines, all those different things. But here in the first hour of this program, I want to talk a little Steelers offseason with you. We're actually going to, in about 15 minutes, talk to Alan Saunders. He covers the Steelers for Pittsburgh Now. He is down in Texas right now at the Shrine Bowl, at the East-West Shrine Bowl, where a lot of these quarterbacks that we've been discussing and different prospects are getting going. So we'll catch up with him for a few minutes, talk some quarterbacks and some other prospects.
There's a saying the draft starts at the Senior Bowl, and it does for the sort of not super in-depth people, but these Shrine Bowls and these other ones are pretty important too. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. And so we'll dip our toes into the Shrine Bowl ongoings with Alan Saunders live from down there in Frisco, Texas. But we begin, as we will continue to do, with the latest coaching, moving, and shaking here. And Matt, I would be remiss. I think this is probably the lead on every NFL show, network, whatever publication you might tune into today, unless maybe you're in one of the 4 markets.
I say, except for game previews.
That is, unless you're in Denver, New England, Seattle, or LA. I think the NFL story of the day is Phillip Rivers interviewing for the Buffalo Bills' vacant head coaching position.
So,
as in Phillip Rivers, who just played a couple games for the Colts.
Guy's been in the news a lot lately.
As in Phillip Rivers, who has coaching experience, but it's at a high school.
Not a high school.
Nothing in college, nothing in the pros. Wow.
Wow is right. So I have great respect for Phillip Rivers. I have respect for him coming back. I mean, I think that's a gutsy move. I mean, that's a quarterback's quarterback. I mean, that dude will stand in and take hits, tough as could be. I mentioned our first Pitt Bowl game that I was a part of. We played against Rivers.
Yeah, that's right.
We played against NC State, So I've been a fan. I think he's better than Eli out of that class. I think this is bonkers.
Bonkers.
I mean, to me, this is like hiring Jeff Saturday.
Yes.
You're not really a coach.
And
some high school experience is not you're really a coach.
Exactly right. We talk a lot on the trepidation of hiring a college coach and how infrequently that works out.
Right.
This is a guy with a couple years, I think 2 or 3 years of high school coaching experience, and that's it. And the weirdest part is, if it was a organization like the Arizona Cardinals or the Raiders that are in a clear ground zero type rebuild situation, then maybe I would at least understand it a little bit.
Especially if he hires the right staff.
100%.
I mean, then I can maybe not get behind it, but at least you could sell me a little bit on it.
When you fire Sean McDermott, who's won 8 playoff games in the last 6 years, the obvious mantra for the Bills organization is Super Bowl or bust.
It has to be with Josh Allen's window,
How are you going to hire somebody that has 0, I'll even throw high-level collegiate experience or NFL coaching experience, none, when your onus is Super Bowl or bust. That would be very confusing to me.
I mean, even if it's Luke Kuechly or Tom Brady or whoever's considered the smartest of players in recent memory, it's not the same.
It's not.
It's not the same. And being on those sidelines and understanding timeouts and things like that, I'm sure, he has done, as in a different capacity. But all the stuff during the week and the organizational stuff and getting involved in scouting and blah, 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 blah. So I thought it was a big red flag. Like, if I was a Bills fan, I'd be like, man, and I'm focusing at Pagula, the owner, who you can probably inform fans better, also owns the Sabres, which are not exactly the best organization in the NHL, correct?
The Sabres NHL playoff drought is kind of similar to the New York Jets NFL postseason drought.
Okay. I mean,
it's been a long time since they've been anywhere viable.
Yeah, and they're not by anything close to a model organization.
No, now they are finally a little bit better this year and could make the playoffs this year, but still, I think it's been like 14 years, 12 years, something like that.
I get some Pirates vibes from the Sabres.
Yes.
Okay. I will make sure I'm not out of line there. I don't know my hockey that well, but I knew that they were not exactly a pillar of the community of the league. But then he picks Bean over McDermott, which was red flag number one to me. Like, clean house. If you don't think McDermott's going to do it, I would have gone, okay, we're getting two new ones. I would not have kept Bean. I mean, to me, he was much more the problem than the answer. Team building was not good over the last
not a
years.
Strength.
Yeah, and they don't really have good identities either, side note. And then you do this Rivers thing. It's like, that's red flag number two. If they may hire the best guy and it will be fine.
Yeah.
But this is...
And if they hired some guy and Phillip Rivers is brought in as a quarterback coach or something like that, okay.
We've seen a ton of those, Josh McCowns and all those guys. Like, hey, they all have millions in the bank, and that's not hiring the GA that's worked his way up from running back coach to tight end coach, et cetera. That's a lifetime coach. But okay, I'd love Rivers in my building in some capacity, but not as my head guy.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Crazy.
When you are in a Super Bowl or bust era, you're moving into a new stadium, it's a real crossroads moment for you. That would be...
You don't have a tough time selling tickets or anything. I mean, you're... Time to go.
That's pushing all your chips into the center of the table, and you don't even know what you have in your hand.
Yeah, you're not even close, right.
So, yeah, certainly
nuts.
Some surprising news across the timeline. Also, though, sticking in Buffalo, Mike McDaniel will interview for their head coaching position as well. He, of course, just signed that deal to be Chargers.
It's agreement.
But it's an agreement similar to the Brian Flores in Minnesota that we had talked about.
We thought that was the case yesterday when we talked about it.
If they don't get a head coaching job, Flores will return to Minnesota, to return to the Vikings to be defensive coordinator. If Mike McDaniels doesn't get a head coaching job, he will be the Chargers' next offensive coordinator, but he will have a formal interview with the Bills as well.
Yeah, and he wouldn't be my first hire for that either, to be honest with you. I think he's more coordinator than head coach, and I'd love to, personal reasons, I'd love to see him work with Herbert and what that offense would just look like.
Sure.
But I still think, that's the best spot for him if you want to maximize his talents would be on a good team with a very established head coach, Harbaugh, as the OC. But that one at least makes a little more sense to me. I mean, I do believe he's a very, very good offensive mind. Their records in Miami weren't that bad. I mean, they weren't like the Giants the last couple of years. I mean, they're not picking in the top five every year.
He was the first coach there to have back-to-back winning seasons, I think it was.
Really?
In a long time.
In a long time.
Yeah.
And I do believe he's a really good offensive mind, and him and Josh Allen could do great things together, but it's kind of an uninspired hire too.
Yeah. Someone who was just fired in your division.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the latest on the national front. Not much really new to report on the Steelers front, except for we know at some point today, Friday, it could be happening right now. It could have happened this morning. Could be happening this evening. But Anthony Weaver, Miami Dolphins former defensive coordinator, having a formal interview with the Steelers. Either, like I said, happening now, earlier today, at some point, Friday, January 23rd.
Yes. And I'm cool with it. I mean, again, some of these assistants that haven't even been coordinators a long time or don't have a head coach background are hard for us to comment on personality-wise and all that kind of thing. But he is considered very bright. Went to Notre Dame, D lineman, has some tough guy to him. Ravens background. I like that part, So he's a tough guy to comment on, go real in-depth about, but I think he'd be a fine candidate, yeah.
Well, you mentioned some of the personality and tough guy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got a clip that I want to play for you. I think I referenced this, Matt. I can't remember if it was earlier in the week when we were told that Anthony Weaver would have a formal interview.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if it was sometime last week when we were still just kind of covering that wide range of potential.
Yeah.
All the names
right.
that were being mentioned as the Steelers putting in requests to talk to when the kind of initial phase of this thing really got going. I mentioned a clip about Anthony Weaver that I loved from this past season, him talking about violence from his defense and how much Steelers fans would love it.
I'm excited to hear it because I've heard it's good, yeah.
If you're a Steelers fan, even if Anthony Weaver is not towards the top of your wish list,
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd love his personality. I think you'd love his attitude. I think you'd love this toughness. I think you'd love this that Anthony Weaver had to say a few months ago about his defense.
Like, I'm old school. I may sit up here, I'm a nice guy, I smile, I do all those things, but all of our problems that we need to solve can be solved through violence. Yeah, they want to legislate it out of the game, but we play defensive football. And in defensive football, at some point, you draw a line in the sand and you say, I'm going to set the edge. I'm going to stick my helmet under this guy's chin, and I'm going to set the edge. I'm going to violently take the ball away. And that's what we need to do. With a steely-eyed focus, with resolve, with resiliency, and we're going to stop people. And I'm determined, we're all determined for that to happen.
Sounds like a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah. I mean, I like the approach, and don't shy away from it.
Sounds like he could have been part of those Steel Curtain units or those Blitzburg units, and he would have been just fine with Debo. And
he'd sure fit in just fine, right?
And some of those guys, all of our problems can be solved with violence. I'm going to set the edge. I'm going to stick my helmet in some guy's chin. They want to legislate this stuff out of the game.
So real quick note on him, too, that just dawned on me. I mean, he was Miami's defense coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Would he be if he doesn't get a head job, or is he on the open market to be a D coordinator somewhere else? I don't know if they're bringing him back or not.
Interesting question. I would imagine that depends.
That's always foggy this time of year.
I would imagine that depends on Miami's next move.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh, I'm sure. Right.
If whoever
is, I think he's under contract like most assistants for another year. But that doesn't mean they can't move away from it.
Sure.
Right.
And if the new head coach comes in and says, I want to bring one of my guys,
right.
Okay,
they
fine.
already hired a guy, though, right?
Or did the Dolphins make their hire
Why
already?
do I forget that off the top of my head? They did.
They hired wait, no, I don't think they made their hire.
They're
right?
still open, okay.
Because they're still open. Yeah, no, because the Ravens hired Jesse Minter.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why I thought Miami.
No, sorry, Jeff Halfley.
Yes, okay.
They did hire.
They hired a defensive guy.
They hired a defensive guy.
So I bet Weaver's not going to be back.
Imagine he's not part of the picture.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just saying maybe he could be a defense coordinator here or elsewhere if he doesn't. He's going to be employed. He's good at his job,
No, absolutely. And so certainly one to keep an eye on. As we know, at some point throughout Friday, January 23rd today, he is or will be or has interviewed for the Pittsburgh Steelers vacant head coaching position. And I got to imagine if he ends up head coach, part of the staff, whatever, I had a feeling that clip is going to end up getting played.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's making pretty popular right off the bat.
Getting played a lot in certain circles. But that's kind of today quieter on the coaching carousel front as we reach the end of the week. There could obviously be breaking easy for me to say. There could obviously be breaking news throughout the show today, and if there is, we'll react. But that's kind of where we're at for now.
Cool.
When we come back here, we're going to go to the phone lines. We're going to talk to Alan Saunders of Pittsburgh Sports Now. He's down in Frisco, Texas at the Star, the Cowboys practice facility. For the ongoing East-West Shrine Bowl. A lot of these quarterbacks in particular, plenty of prospects, but a lot of these quarterbacks that we've mentioned yesterday and really throughout the year.
Yeah, we actually happened to talk about this just yesterday.
Are some of these guys more will be in the Senior Bowl, but some are taking the field now at the Shrine Bowl as well. So we'll talk to Alan Saunders, get all the moving and shaking as the offseason and the draft process really starts to get going here over the next week or so. We'll talk to Alan on the other side. Just getting started here on The Drive on this Friday. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back on The Drive here on the Friday as we roll along into the phone lines we go deep to the heart of Texas to talk to Alan Saunders of Steelers Now. He is there in Frisco for the ongoing East-West Shrine Bowl, kind of, as Matt joked about, the Senior Bowl likes to say the draft starts here in Mobile, but there is plenty going on before we do all turn our attention to Mobile next weekend, and that is all happening, and Alan Saunders is there on site covering it all for Steelers Now. Alan, thank you for taking the time. Before we get into some Shrine Bowl specifics, we do now know officially Fernando Mendoza declaring for the NFL draft. Is he easy, nailed on, number 1 overall pick, QB1 of this class, in your opinion?
Easily QB1. Nobody else is even close. And honestly, I mean, I don't think he's the kind of quarterback where you say, like, yes, he has to be the number 1 pick. But I don't really see who you would be taking ahead of him at this point if you're the Las Vegas Raiders sitting there, a team without a quarterback. It just seems like that's a pretty easy projection.
Yeah, it does. And every mock on the planet's going to have him going to Vegas, which I totally get. But do you agree that the blue chippers in this draft aren't usually – it's pretty light, to be honest with you. The top of the draft doesn't blow me away.
I would say normally if I was looking at a quarterback like Mendoza as QB1, I'd be like, okay, well, who's the best tackle? Who's the best edge rusher? Who's the best defensive tackle? And it just doesn't seem like Reuben Bain was really good in the playoff run for Miami. I would say he's probably gotten himself onto the edge of that conversation, but I don't really feel like anybody's come close to trying to knock off Mendoza for being that kind of obvious guy.
Alan, let's get into some of the other quarterback names. One of the things that Matt and I discussed this week is just the intrigue around the crop of quarterbacks that this time last year were thought of as being the guys. Mm-hmm. The Nussmeyers of the world, the Allers of the world, and, of course, Cade Klubnik, too. All these guys, for different reasons, performance-wise, injury-wise, whatever it may be, not at the forefront of this draft class as they were thought to be when we were starting to preview this group. I know Cade Klubnik, practice number 1 in the books down there at the Shrine Bowl. What were your takeaways from him? And what do you think, what is kind of his highest potential in this draft? Like, what's the highest position you could see himself working his way up towards?
Yeah, I thought he looks just okay passing today. Sailed a couple over the middle when he really tried to put some mustard on it. We'll see how it goes throughout the week. Obviously, his first time throwing to most of these guys. I really thought the thing that stood out to me was just the way he looked in command of the offense. I mean, the first one of these practices, there's false starts everywhere. There's fumbled snaps. You get the line of scrimmage and people don't know the play call. That stuff wasn't happening when Klubnik was in there. It was on point. He actually drew the defense offside with a hard count on his very first snap. He was making checks at the line of scrimmage, using his eyes to manipulate coverage. The physical tools have always been there. The results were definitely not for him this year. But he just kind of looks the part as a pro quarterback right now in a way that I don't think anybody else here does.
I know he's the biggest name of the quarterbacks, and frankly, I don't even have the roster in front of me. Can you introduce myself and everybody else to the other signal callers down there of note? I mean, you don't have to go into every one, but who stands out from that crop?
Yeah, Jalen Daniels from Kansas is
I've
an
heard
athlete.
good things.
He can definitely make plays with his legs. We'll see where the rest of the job goes from there for him. Mark Gronowski was Mason McCormick's teammate at South Dakota State, transferred to Iowa last year. He's undersized, but tough kid. Throws the ball pretty well when he makes a decision. Runs a little bit too. I don't know what his upside is necessarily, but he's got a lot of experience. Won national championship at the FCS level, and then got into that Iowa offense last year, which is finally starting to implement the forward pass as part of its repertoire after many years of ignoring it. So he's an interesting guy as well. Kyron Drones from Virginia Tech is here. Miller Moss from Louisville. Those are guys who played a lot of college football. It's not necessarily like a splashy group of guys in terms of prospects, but there are definitely some. Haynes King had a really nice year with Georgia Tech as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that we talked about a little bit throughout the season, along with Daniels from Kansas. Certainly some names to keep an eye on here throughout the weekend. Alan, maybe I should have asked you this on the back of the Mendoza question, not the best order of operations here, but do you have a clear-cut QB2 in this class in your mind right now, or are we going to have to wait and see these Shrine Bowls, Senior Bowls, Combine, Pro Days before you start to make make the list behind Mendoza?
I mean, right now for me, it's very clearly Ty Simpson from Alabama. I don't even know who could catch him. Mm-hmm. And the one guy that maybe could, not going to be a part of this, is Trinidad Chambliss, who's waiting to see if he's going to go back to Ole Miss or not. Seems like the latest court procedures seem like it's trending toward him being able to go back to college, but we're going to have to wait and see, and he's waiting to see. So he's not taking part in any of the pre-draft stuff. I think he has to know by early February, so I guess we'll find out sooner than later. But if it's not him, I don't know who else is going to catch Ty Simpson. And, he's a guy I think also not participating in the Shrine Bowl or Senior Bowl, or at least has not accepted an invite to anywhere to this point. I would probably be looking at him as a middle of the first round guy. But if he's like bolted on quarterback too, then you start to wonder, where does somebody decide we got to have him, especially if Chambliss isn't in the class and it is just a chasm after him to the next guy.
Yeah, I kind of look at like the Jets won't take him at 2, but they might take him with their second pick. Or wouldn't he be a good guy to sit behind Stafford? There's a couple spots in the middle of the first round where Simpson could get pretty attractive.
Yeah, and teams trading up too that need a quarterback. I think if the Steelers want him, mm-hmm. I think 21 would be good value for him, but I don't know if they could feel very good about sitting there and waiting.
We actually brought this up yesterday. Like, as it stands right now, would I trade the 21st pick for Simpson? I just don't know enough about him, so the answer is probably no. But I bet when the time comes, he's not going to be there at 21. That's just how the league works.
Yeah, we've seen it. There have been exceptions. The 2022 year, I felt like teams really sat on their hands. But for the most part, we were talking about Jackson Dart as like maybe a day 2 or day 3 guy. He goes up there in the first round. You saw with Penix and McCarthy and Nix in that class, all those guys got pushed up into the first round. I just assume that as quarterback needy as the NFL is, those guys are going to go earlier than we all think.
Yeah, that is almost always the case, certainly. Alan, last one I've got for you. Quarterback needy, we know that that's always the case around the National Football League. It's also offensive line needy across the National Football League. And I have to ask you about the local guy. There is a Western Pennsylvania representation, other than the great Alan Saunders, obviously, down there in Frisco, Texas. Slippery Rock's Joe Cooper, who played tackle in college, but has now been moved to guard down there at the Shrine Bowl. Did you see anything from him today? Do you think he has a chance to get drafted? Is he more of a UDFA guy? Just talk to us for a minute about Slippery Rock's Joe Cooper.
Slippery Rock Joe.
Slippery Rock Joe.
I talked to Joe yesterday. Great guy. I went to IUP, so I thank him for not deciding to dismember me and just go ahead and do the interview. So that was appreciated. He's huge. He's 6'7", 300. I think he's over 300 pounds. A really big guy. Kicked him into guard. I thought he run blocked really well today. Maybe not his natural pass set, but might have been the very first time he did it. I don't know. But when he got his hands on guys, they moved, and that's what you really want to see. He didn't look out of place at all. There are a couple other local guys. Eli Heidenreich from down in South Hills, went to Navy, is playing running back, and Jaden Duggar from Penn Hills is a linebacker. Ended up at one of the Louisiana schools, Southeastern, I think it was. So there are some local interest here for sure.
I think Heidenreich's a Lebo guy.
Yeah.
Last thing I got for you. We also know the Steelers are heavily going to be in the wide receiver market in some way, shape, or form. Any standouts at that position? And is there a position group that looks quite strong at the Shrine game overall?
I came into this week not knowing what to make of this wide receiver group, and one of the guys I really, really liked is Stribling from Ole Miss, and he's not practicing. I assume he's dealing with some kind of minor injury or something. So I was kind of bummed, and then I watched practice today, and there were actually a number of guys that kind of looked good to me. Sturdivant from Florida, Bell from UConn is a guy I kind of knew coming in was going to be a player. Also, there's another bell from Georgia. There's 3 Georgia guys here that are not Zachariah Branch, who was by far their number 1 receiver. And none of those guys got the ball very much. Georgia didn't have like the best year passing, but he looks good. It seems like this is shaping up to be a pretty nice wide receiver class. I think there's about 5 guys in the first round, and the players I'm looking at here are mostly, pick maybe 90 and below, and they look pretty good too. So I'm thinking it's shaping up to be a nice year to need a wide receiver, and the Steelers are certainly in that group. One just way out of nowhere, Michael Wortham from Montana was a late ad.
Oh, wow.
Here he is 5'8", so a little guy, but man, a sudden separator. I mean, he got way open a couple times today, and that was interesting to see. Obviously, Steelers got a Montana guy in Dylan Cook. Maybe they'd take another one.
Great stuff, Alan Saunders. Make sure you're checking out all of his Shrine Bowl coverage, SteelersNow.com. Wait, real quick, Alan, before we let you go, because I just saw this on your Twitter account, tweeting about Whataburger being better than In-N-Out, which I agree with. I like both, but I am with you on that. How does Whataburger compare to Culver's, where we'll all be going in a few weeks on our way out to Indianapolis for the NFL Combine?
That's tougher. That's a tougher choice. I think they both.
I'm a Culver's
they both
fan.
do things well. I wrote when I went to LA and I tried to buy a T-shirt and they did not have any I liked in a XXL. It's like, don't trust the burger opinion of a place that doesn't have enough fat people to stock XXL T-shirts. Like, that's Texas in the Midwest.
Rule to live by, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Great stuff. Alan, thank you for taking the time, partner, and we'll talk to you soon. Have fun down there.
See you, boys.
There he goes. Great stuff. Alan Saunders, deep in the heart of Texas there in Frisco at the Shrine Bowl.
I meant to ask him if he's going to Senior Bowl or not.
So
many of them just make the trek straight over.
I'm pretty sure he's driving because he actually, you'll laugh at it, he did like a Taylor Swift-style tour announcement.
Oh, really?
Of Alan Saunders' off-season tour, and it was like his driving routes to Frisco, Texas, and then to the Senior Bowl, and then back home, and then to the Combine. So
okay.
I do think he'll be there next week. Maybe we'll catch up with him next week again from the
we're always hitting
from the Senior Bowl. Yeah, but good stuff there, and yeah, I mean once we get through these final 3 NFL games, 2 this weekend in the Super Bowl, and then obviously once we the ink dries on the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, we will be completely diving into offseason and draft mode and
free agency and all that good stuff. Yeah,
and certainly that is right around the corner. But we're starting to dip our toes into that pond a little bit this week. With that, Matt, I want to just have some offseason roster plans, offseason roster conversation with you to kind of piggyback off some of that stuff we just talked about with Alan. When we return on the other side, we'll do that to close down the first hour. Uhler, Williamson, it's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. All right, Mac, let me peel back the curtain here for you for just a second. During the regular, from the time that we get to Latrobe, really, so kind of start of training camp through whenever the Steelers play their last game.
Yeah.
It's very easy to come up with our rundown every single day.
Every Wednesday it is the same. Every Thursday is the same. I mean, switches a little bit if they're playing a Thursday night game, but in essence, we still Matt stats here and recap the game and right.
around campus and preview the game.
On a Monday or Fridays
exactly. And Rob King's on Mondays.
Right.
And yes, my friends and family who kind of sometimes ask me the ins and outs of this job, they'll laugh when I'm like, I do way more prep in the offseason than I do in the regular season. Because in the regular season, it's just watching games and, kind of the
it's
normal
harder to
flow.
find content, yeah.
Off season, it's a lot of free agency stuff, draft stuff, just trying to come up with content pieces that aren't spoon-fed to us in the course of the NFL's.
Hoping something pops up between today and the next game.
Exactly
next
right.
show or whatever, right.
So this time of year, sometimes I'm guilty of, I'll look at something and I'll go, hey, we'll talk, like that's evergreen. Like we could talk about that next week. We could talk about that in a couple weeks.
But few things are.
Because stuff changes so rapidly this time. Just when you think, oh, we can wait a week to talk about that, then something happens, and all of a sudden you miss the front end and you only get the reaction on the back end.
Exactly. Or one piece of the equation isn't there anymore. Yeah.
So with that, again, peeling back the curtain, ever since the season ended, I was like, at some point, sooner rather than later, Matt and I need to go through some of the roster decisions for the Steelers.
Okay.
And part of me is like, you wait till the next head coach is named. You have a clearer
Sure,
picture.
sure.
But again, I also think I'm guilty of kicking things too far down the road when we can discuss them now. We can discuss them later. We can discuss them as they happen.
And we'll probably have it. Probably this won't have be the first and last time for this conversation either.
Exactly right. So with that, I want to do a lot of different roster type decisions for the Steelers, for Omar Khan, for the next head coach, for everybody involved. And just your thoughts as we sit here towards the end of January, before the draft, before free agency. You want this guy on the roster in 2026? Release this guy. Look to trade this guy. Just kind of your 30,000 foot view thoughts at this point.
Okay, and I don't need people coming back to me in 3 weeks saying,
"Well, you said this."
Yeah, I'm like, well, he doesn't fit the new scheme.
I always love it when that happens.
Right, but I thought you loved him. I loved him for what I thought the defense was going to be, and that I don't love him for this, or vice versa.
You shared it on Twitter and pumped my tires a little bit a few days ago. Back on August 9th, I tweeted, Fernando Mendoza, write that name down, or Fernando Mendoza, buy stock now, like
I threw
something like
back
that
on Twitter because right.
If in the end of September, Mendoza stunk and Indiana was 2-2. Like, okay, I wouldn't be saying, watch that Fernando Mendoza guy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We don't have crystal balls. Right.
And I also think in any walk of line in life, this is much bigger than a sports conversation, but you should be open to changing your opinions and adapting as new information presents itself.
I kind of think it shows a lack of intelligence if you don't.
Same here.
Right. To be very honest with you. Right.
Same here.
You think you know everything? Well,
you think you know everything? You think nothing ever changes?
Right.
How many of us hated tomatoes and mushrooms and onions when we were kids, and now we love them?
I wasn't a coffee drinker 20 years ago. Right.
If something different advances in technology and science and stuff like that across the world change your opinion on certain things. Different coaching hires change your opinion on certain things. So I'm glad you mentioned that too. This is as we sit here today, Friday, January 23rd. Cam Hayward. Let's start with the Lion King himself. He will turn 37 in May. And let's see here. I believe is due a nearly $13 million, just a little under $13 million roster bonus in mid-March.
Okay. I want him back 1,000%.
Yeah, that's an easy one for me.
Yes, because I don't want to lose some of the great culture that was built here that started probably with Joe Green,
Absolutely.
I don't want to lose that. I definitely think no matter who's coaching the offense, defense, defensive line, calling the plays on defense, there still and should always be a Steeler way of doing things that starts, or maybe doesn't start, but is certainly involved in the locker room.
Ingrained in that group.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the fiber of the walls and the paint and the carpet and all that, and he embodies that more than anybody. He may have been the best player on the whole team this year.
Really might have.
He
probably was.
Probably
he was the only All-Pro.
Yeah, he probably was, which is amazing. And I would love to not have to replace him this year. Like, it would create a void. I mean, I still think they should probably add a defensive lineman of note, and probably more of a nose, but I don't know what their scheme is. But if he leaves, you can't run back with what you have and feel comfortable.
Completely
agree.
agree.
I mean, you can't line up in week one with who's under contract minus Hayward.
The only way it would become a conversation for me is if someone's like offering you a first-round pick, but I don't see who's going to offer a first-round pick for a 37-year-old.
Right.
And why would I want to cut him? He's completely worth what you're paying him.
Yes.
I think that's a pretty easy decision. And the bigger picture stuff, as you mentioned, is number one.
So this applies to him, but others more so on the team. Hypothetically, the season doesn't start well, or you make a huge youth movement and you're breaking in Ty Simpson in week one and he's in over his head and you're 2-5.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a contender will give you a pick at the trade deadline. That's different. You go to Cam and he deserves this respect and be like, well, Team X the Lions are tearing it up. Do you want to go try to win a ring?
The Chicago Bears.
Yeah, he's like, I got 1
it.
year left, and we can get a pick out of it, and you might
go
be
drink.
happier.
Do you want to go drink matcha with Caleb Williams
Yeah.
in the Windy City for a few months and try and win a Super Bowl?
We both know you have 10 to 12 games left in you. Do you want to move? If you say yes, then we'll do it for you.
Totally.
That's also could be probably unlikely. I mean, I think he's a one-helmet guy. But, I'm just throwing it out that doesn't mean if you give him the bonus and he comes to camp that you can still make moves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the league works.
Absolutely. TJ Watt.
This one's tough. I don't think he's the elite defensive player of the year player that he once was.
The 1% of the 1%.
Right. He's still massively impactful.
3 more years left on his contract.
3 more years left on his contract. Trading him would not be all that prohibitive to your cap. From what I understand, you actually free up $12 million in cap space, but you got to carry $30 million of dead money, which basically just means you're paying him to play for somebody else, which nobody likes. But
sure,
in this league, that's not uncommon.
Yep.
A lot. I mean, are you playing? And rarely do I even bring this up anymore. We used to talk about every day. You run into 4-3, you run into a 3-4, but he's good enough edge setter that I think he can do whatever you ask of him. Will the new guy move him around a lot more? Again,
does he want to play for the new guy?
Right.
Yeah.
But I absolutely do not want Herbig ever leaving or leaving whenever his contract's up. I think Highsmith's still very valuable. So there's a scenario. I'm not saying got to trade him. There's a scenario that I would listen to offers.
Yeah.
And particularly like we talked about at the deadline, if things are going poorly, edge rushers are super valuable. Like Jalen Phillips got a third, and TJ would get a lot more, and they wouldn't. They rented Phillips for 10 weeks or whatever.
If you're acquiring TJ, you've got some term on that deal still.
Exactly. So I would listen and give a chunk of his money to Herbig. I'm not letting Herbig leave no matter what. He's just too good, and the 3rd round comp pick or 4th round comp pick just isn't enough, and I want to get him on the field. But I could at least make an argument of I would consider trading Watt. Could also make probably a stronger argument. He should be a one helmet guy too for culture and all those things too, because that matters.
We are in both of these in lockstep.
Yeah.
If someone's calling me and wants to talk about TJ Watt, I'll answer the phone.
Yeah.
You obviously are going to have a conversation with him about his future.
Yeah. How many years do you think you got left? What's your plan?
Yes.
And you would have got more for him a year ago than now. You would have.
His stock price was higher the last couple off seasons than it is now.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that his stock price has tanked either.
No, you think the Lions would like to have TJ Watt? Yes. They would like to have TJ Watt.
Yes.
Yeah.
This to me is a real interesting one. Maybe the most interesting in this conversation. Jalen Ramsey.
Maybe you can dig this up while I'm chatting. I think he's a $20 million cap hit.
A little over 17.
Okay. I knew it was extreme.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one, too, because he's so new to safety. People forget this. I know he played coming out of high school, but that's not the same.
That's not, that's the same Phillip Rivers conversation that we just had.
That's not the same. Yeah, right. So he did take some angles and things of that nature that I'm sure would improve with more safety play.
Offseason and film study and just comfortability.
Right. Now, a priority I'm going to bring up with this secondary in general is I think they need more team speed.
Okay.
Compared to other secondaries, they're on the slower end. And as athletic as he's been in his career, he's more on the slow side than the fast side as free safeties go, and certainly as slot corners go. We've talked about this a lot, that the Emuaris, DeJean, Petries, Hamiltons, these big slot safety linebacker types is what most defenses really want.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he's that guy.
He'll be 32 before Halloween. Week before Halloween, he'll be 32.
Elliott's going to be one of your safeties. The rest of the safety room's pretty barren.
Mm-hmm. A lot of spare parts.
But $18 million in cap space goes a long way.
That's my biggest thing.
That's the thing. Is he worth the money?
If you are going to pay him close to what Minkah Fitzpatrick was making to be a safety, he needs to be in that absolute upper echelon of NFL safeties.
Right.
If you think he can be one of the top 10 safeties in the league,
then, he kind of has to be.
He has to be.
Yeah.
For that kind of money for a safety, you need to be bordering on All-Pro, Pro Bowl, really good.
Do you think he could maybe be a Pro Bowler next year? If the answer is no, then I think you say, sorry, we want the money. If you think maybe he can be a Pro Bowler, not an All-Pro, then I think the answer is probably yes, assuming he fits the scheme.
That's I think
if you play a lot of too
fair.
high, you don't need to. Those teams don't invest as much in safety. If he's playing Minka's single high stuff, well, you need a really good one.
If he's going to be just good for you, you can find a lot of just good safeties for less than half of that price tag.
And I don't think it's to the Watt or certainly the Cam level, but I do like his attitude.
Sure.
I like him being around.
Sure.
A few of these are knocks on the player. But defensive backs get old quick.
They do.
They do,
And again, I believe in his ability to move to safety.
Yes.
But to what level? To a $17, $18 million, which would make him one of the higher paid safeties in the league if he moves into that, salary cap scale.
Kyle Hamilton's going to be making that kind of money. You know what I mean?
I need more than just good.
Yeah, I need a lot of impact plays. I need to take the ball away. And splash.
One of the best half dozen guys in the league.
Right, and at least for this year.
Yeah.
I also think there's a misconception that he has no value as an outside corner. That's not true. He didn't get toasted every time he tried to guard somebody. It's not what he does best.
Yes.
And I only say that because he's had to do it once or twice since he's moved to safety, that he can get you out of a game at corner. You have 2 corner injuries on game day against the Bengals. All right, well, you got T. Higgins. It's not what we wanted to do originally, but at least he has that in his in his bag.
You could do much worse for break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah, exactly. Most safeties you have no chance to do that with,
Last one on the defensive side of the football, Matt, before we do a couple on the offensive side of the ball. Linebacker Patrick Queen.
Again, I should be more on top of what you saved by cutting.
$17 million against the cap in 2026. You can save $14 million if you release him before the end of March.
Mm-hmm. These are big numbers, but people need to realize inflation and salary cap. They're not as big.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. Patrick Mahomes' contract doesn't look that bad all of a sudden.
Oh, he's
a few years removed.
Total bargain, right?
Yeah.
Total bargain. I thought Peyton Wilson would be further along than he is. I still have high hopes. I still think he's a second contract guy, but I thought you'd be really comfortable right now saying he's the green dot every down linebacker. And at least the last coaching staff never got to that point. There's a lot of Harrison mixed in. There was a lot of Roberts mixed in before that. And that implies, run versus pass, of course. I probably bring Queen back. He's another tone setter, and personality-wise, I think is strong. He is never going to be a great take-on blocker guy, but that's not as important as it used to be. Athleticism is there. Misses a lot of tackles. I would have to study the linebacker market better.
Yeah.
Because, all these things create needs.
That's the biggest.
That's the thing.
No doubt.
I'm going to line somebody up, and I like Holcomb, but I am not going with just Wilson and Holcomb and saving the $14 million. And what am I using it for?
Sure.
Because the other thing, and this is going to be a big theme these next couple of weeks, whatever you need on the cap space isn't as valuable as it used to be, except to keep your own. Because the cap's going up so fast, all these teams are not letting quality players hit free agents.
Yes.
So when we start really digging into the free agent list, we might be like, Queen's way better than all these guys.
It's not what it was.
Right.
7, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Right. Okay, I saved $14 million and I give 12 to this other linebacker who's 80% the player. It's like
not worth it.
Yeah, right. What I gain here?
Not worth it.
You know what I mean?
And you did a good breakdown at some point. I forget when it was. I think before the season started, of how as the cap balloons and balloons and balloons, edge rusher is the only position whose salary is ballooning with it.
And quarterback, of course.
And quarterback.
Yeah,
Sorry,
course.
yeah. Edge rusher and quarterback.
Yeah, everyone's like, boy, these salaries are going crazy. Well,
not compared to inflation.
Not compared to inflation, though, right? And this, I'm sure it'll start to correct itself. But since COVID, when the cap actually went backwards, which has never happened. So when it started ballooning again, I don't think, what's that been, 3 off seasons? Mm-hmm. It's gone up like, I'm pulling these numbers out of thin air. I know I'm wrong, but it's something like 30%. Well, the average top edge rusher guy, and this was when they paid Watt, is also going up like 31%. Quarterback was like 32%. The other positions have not gone up 30%. They're all getting raises. Like $10 million tight ends are common now, and they weren't. But that's still not 30% more than they made 3 years ago.
Correct.
Yeah, everyone's like, boy, we really pulled one over on these owners that are paying the bill. They're like, you really didn't.
Not really.
You really didn't.
I'm laughing as my microphone falls down here. Yeah, no, that is well said and well stated, and that's kind of the backdrop of all these conversations that you have to keep in mind.
And again, I have a lot more offseason homework to do. Like if this happens to be an awesome linebacker class of free agents, because draft linebacker. The other thing about draft,
I don't want to plug and play draft linebacker.
Right. That's why if I trusted Wilson, Holcomb could hold down the fort, and I'm going to use a high pick on him. But young backers don't do well. Schlesinger is an anomaly. Yeah.
He's a Kurt Signetti.
Yeah.
He ain't finding those growing on trees.
Right.
Okay, here's what I want to do. I do want to run a couple offensive names past you, but we got to get to break to close down the first hour here. Hour 2 is going to be championship hour, but let's start with some offensive guys here.
Sure.
And then we'll turn our focus to the AFC and NFC championship games in hour number 2. We'll do all that and more as we roll along. Andrew Destin from Seattle going to join us in hour number 2. It's all happening here on The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Well, that's good. Us too. Hour number 2 here on The Drive. And soon we will focus. All eyes will turn to championship weekend. Patriots, Broncos, Rams, Seahawks. We'll talk to Andrew Destin from the Associated Press in Seattle to get his thoughts on
that'll be fun.
What could be game of the year type in the NFC championship game. Probably the 2 best teams in the league for my money.
So along those lines, just so I don't forget to mention it, Aaron Schatz does DVOA and all that. And this really does have like an Aikman versus Young NFC battle
It's awesome.
Feel to it, or Niners versus Legion of Boom feel, where they're clearly the leader in the clubhouse for Super Bowl. But in terms of just DVOA, Aaron said this is the best playoff matchup in 47 years.
I love it.
Like,
I'm
whoa,
stoked.
okay.
I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah.
We'll do all that in just a few minutes. Couple more of these roster offseason decisions on the offensive side of the ball. Not as many on the offensive side of the ball, I don't think, than there are on the defensive side of the ball, where you've got some more veteran, scenarios to evaluate. But let's start with the tight ends, Matt. Pat Freiermuth first. Keep him, look to trade him. I don't think you would want to cut him because he's an asset.
No, you don't cut him. I think you bump up his role.
Yes.
I think he's been underutilized. I think if I were him, I'd be frustrated with my usage. I would like to feature him more. Again, I assume they won't play as much three tight ends. I'm sure they won't. But you're seeing more and more tight end usage around the league. You're seeing more tight ends on the field.
It's him and Darnell Washington.
I say him and Darnell Washington, I'm fine.
1-2 punch.
Right. I don't know if Jonnu is going to be back. I would not bring him back. But I would have Freiermuth play more and be more of part of the solution than he needs to go.
And moving to Jonnu, that was the next one. Obviously, I think I would move on.
I'd move on quickly. And I think you regret the contract. I'm shocked that he was is least valuable as he was, to be honest.
We all thought he was going to be a huge addition.
He didn't separate well. He wasn't good after the catch. Those were things that he was a specialty. You knew he wasn't a good blocker. So what are you giving me?
Yeah.
In the end, right.
Dead cap of $4 million if you cut him, but you create $8 million in roster space upon release.
Thank you very much.
I
would much rather have $8 million in roster space.
Same. And with Arthur
Especially
Smith
if he's
gone,
your third tight end.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
Save money. No more Arthur Smith, which was kind of the relationship with him.
Sure.
Ride it with Freiermuth and Darnell and Connor Hayward.
And I might draft one in the 5th round.
And you might draft one on day
some
3.
Cheap guy just to replenish it, because you're going to have to pay Washington and, eventually. So that one's about as easy as they come to me.
3 more for you, Matt, on the offensive side of the football. Let's start with Isaac Seumalo.
Interesting, because we're going to talk a lot of O-line. hunch, and again, subject to change, I think left tackle will be a Jones-Cook battle, as we mentioned in the fifth-year option conversation. I think they're very comfortable with Anderson inserting at left guard. You saw a lot of him on the field, and it was mostly a success. But I also get very greedy with O-linemen.
Yes, you do.
Because I want to draft at least one, maybe two.
I want one too many.
And I want one too many. And that's always a position in camp where someone's calling and you got an extra, oh, man, I'll give you something for him. So I might even consider asking Isaac and do one more year. You know, I mean, we'll pay you the going rate, one year. Now, I think this is harsh, but his body's not long for this league is my hunch. I mean, he doesn't practice.
He's missed 7 games over the last 2 years.
And he's always the veteran rest guy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you got to get him to the next week and all those things. But if I look at it like I'm going to get 10 games out of him, I think we had a Evgeny Malkin conversation about this before we went live, you know. I thought he had a good year. 65
games, 70 games.
Yeah, right. And I still have Anderson, and I might have a 4th-round guard / tackle in the mix too. I never want to be short there.
Never want to be short there. You don't want to get what we got into 2 years ago, where right out of the chute you're down. You're down
like 2 injuries all of a sudden. You're done.
You're down Nate Herbig. You're down James Daniels, and you're down Troy Fautanu.
Yeah, people didn't think Frazier and McCormick weren't scheduled to be opening day starters,
right?
Especially McCormick.
Two more.
So he's someone I would definitely talk to.
Yes,
and he might be very comfortable in the city and happy. And
sure,
I'll do one more year.
I'll do one more year. Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, he's also the old guy in the room and the guy they all look to.
Before we get to Andrew Destin, got to ask you about Kenneth Gainwell and Calvin Austin III.
Austin, I'm probably saying go test the market. I need a big-bodied guy that's never going to leave the field with Metcalf. If the first wave of free agency goes by and I have a plan to get that guy, we can reconsider this conversation. Because unless I'm wrong, I mean, right now the wide receivers are only Metcalf, Skoranek, and Wilson.
Yes.
You're
going to need more than 3. 2 or 3. Right, you're going to need more than 3.
You need two or three more added to the roster, whether they played here last year or not. And one of them needs to be at least an upgrade, a major upgrade. You know, to me, that was probably your weakest starting spot was wide receiver 2.
Yes.
And like we've talked about a ton, I'm tired of it. You know, it's gone on too long.
This is a trilogy now, and I'm ready for this story to end.
First round pick might be a receiver, and you add somebody, you know, that's not a no-name. So I'm not just locking him up so I have one of those spots fixed and go from there. That's an easy one.
I'm going to be a wait-and-see patient approach with that.
Yes.
If someone else wants to give you a nice offer,
the world still spins.
Wish him well and go elsewhere. But if he's hanging around, you could get him for a good price. I wouldn't hate to see him back either.
Yeah. I don't think he's a bad player. You know.
And then last one, Kenneth Gainwell, reigning team MVP.
I don't know.
What's his market look like? That's the real question.
Real pleasant surprise. I'm a big Warren fan. Running back's cloudy to me because I wish I knew more about Caleb Johnson because I think they have to have a big back. And Warren's not a little back, but I really think somebody 225-ish, you know what I mean? And I love big backs, and I cannot lie. You know, I mean, I am very prejudiced towards big backs, you know, in terms, especially when you play in this division and weather and this time of year. But I want Gainwell in my offense. If he wants crazy numbers, hey, I'm your MVP, and I think he's replaceable. I mean, I don't think he's a special player. They got a lot more out of him than I would have guessed. I thought he was going to be a 10% guy, and he's out there 50% or whatever. Mm-hmm. And saved the season in some regards.
Yeah, no doubt you needed him.
Yeah, but I know I can, unlike like linebacker, I know I can get a 3rd-round running back that.
Well, you thought that last year.
Usually you can.
Usually.
Yeah. History shows it's not a hard position to find.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's the interesting one on Gainwell. He's another I'd kind of wait and see what his market is, what other teams are willing to offer him. But I would not break the bank. I wouldn't hate bringing him back, but I wouldn't break the bank to do so.
Yeah. And remember, Caleb was more of an outside. He was drafted to be an outside zone Arthur Smith runner. Is outside zone going to be the foundation of the run game or not?
That's a great point.
And plus, you really don't know much more about him. And if you do, it's probably not positive, or he'd have been out there. At least maybe the new staff thinks it differently. Wilson and Johnson are really interesting to me. Roman and Caleb.
Very much so. We'll talk about them at some point this
yeah.
offseason, because that would how you feel about those guys relates directly to these conversations.
But you can't count on either of, that's my answer.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let's put a pin in that for now, something that we'll certainly revisit plenty of times this year, I'm sure. But when we return, we will focus our attention on championship weekend, and we'll kick that off with a conversation with Andrew Destin. Used to work for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, now covers Seattle sports for the Associated Press. He will join us on the other side. We'll talk a little NFC championship game with him and get his thoughts on the Seahawks and the Rams, a big one on Sunday. We'll do that on the other side. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back on The Drive here as we're getting ready for championship weekend, and across the coast we go to talk to Andrew Destin. Once upon a time, worked here in Pittsburgh for the Post-Gazette, now covers Washington sports for the Associated Press. Andrew, thanks for taking the time. Good to chat with you here on what I'm sure is a busy weekend ahead for you. And just 30,000-foot view here to get us started. What's the kind of atmosphere like now in Washington, in Seattle, getting ready for the third edition of this game this year? You know, between what my co-host Matt and I both think are the two best teams in the NFL, I'm sure there's a lot of anticipation for Sunday.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure to hop on and talk a little Seahawks football with whoever wants to. Yeah, I think the best way to describe it is cautious optimism around these parts here in Seattle. People are excited. People are eager to see, what is going to happen. But let's not take away what happened on December 18 when these two teams last met. I mean, in that game, the Seahawks barely beat the Rams and required a furious 16-point fourth-quarter comeback that was aided in large part by some curious fourth down calls by the Rams, as well as the Seahawks getting a punt return for a touchdown. So, listen, the Seahawks are playing really well. This city knows what they have, and that is one of the best teams in franchise history. That being said, this is not going to be easy. Anything but that. So I think what you're looking at here is a Seahawks team that is excellent. It is very good. It has all of the potential in the world to go to the Super Bowl and to win it all. But first, they've got to dispose of a really good Rams team that has, in my opinion, the best offense in football.
So this doesn't apply one bit to the game, and I have so many in-depth questions to ask you. But do you have any inclination, because I've been wanting to talk to a Seahawks guy for a while, why are they so good on the road with this head coach?
Honestly, this is going to be the most cliche answer. Sorry, what was that?
I just said that's a great question.
Yeah,
I didn't even think
amazing.
about that. They are so good on the road.
Right.
Yeah, this is going to be the most cliche answer you ever get out of me because I try to be anything but that as a reporter. It is because of their process. And
really?
Listen, I know that sounds obvious, but really what it is that everything with this team down to the day of the week, the minutes, the hours, it is really drilled down to try and keeping everything as consistent as possible.
That's a great
answer.
It's
really boring.
Wow.
It's really, really boring, and the players and the coaches and everybody knows it. But that's how they keep in line. I mean, think about it. This Seahawks team, nobody's gotten in trouble this year. Mm-hmm. Nobody's really gotten seriously injured, and anybody who has, they've been able to have that kind of next man up mentality. All of these things are incredible sports cliches, but they kind of work, and it really bodes well when you travel on the road.
Andrew, in your opinion, how much of Sunday's contest from a Seattle standpoint of view certainly comes down to Sam Darnold and his performance?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be huge. What Sam is going to be able to do on offense for them on Sunday, can he avoid the big turnovers? Can he avoid the big mistakes? Can he avoid the fumbles, right? And can he throw the ball downfield? Against the Niners, we saw a little bit of that. 12 of 17 for $140, I believe it was. But I think Sam Darnold is so key to this, especially considering Zach Charbonnet, who led the team in rushing touchdowns this year with 12, especially considering that he is out. He's not going to be playing in this one because of a knee injury that sounds like it could be as serious as maybe even limiting him for next year. So regardless, Sam Darnold needs to be huge. He needs to be in control, not allow the moment to get too big. And the problem for the Seahawks is that that's kind of been the case this year when playing the Rams. I mean, you look at the stats. I believe I have this right. In 2 games against Los Angeles this year, Sam Darnold has 2 touchdowns against 6 interceptions. 6 of his 14 picks this year have come against the Rams. They kind of have his number. Same way that the Rams offense kind of has the Seahawks number. Now, it's much, much harder to do so when you're playing a team for a third time. But regardless, my point in saying all of that is that I do not expect this to be an easy game for Sam Darnold. I expect the Rams defense, while banged up, while not elite like the Seahawks, I imagine they're going to give him some trouble, and it's really going to come down to, can he take care of the football?
You beat me to it on Charbonnet. He's out. But there's also some left tackle questions from what I gather. Are there any other major injuries that you're concerned about?
Not really, aside from left tackle.
Yeah.
I think that's the big one there, is whether it's going to be Charles Cross or whether it's going to be Josh Jones. That's certainly something to keep tabs on. If I had to guess, Charles Cross is going to be able to go. Josh Jones doesn't sound like he would. So left tackle is certainly something of concern for the Seahawks. It's something to monitor. And we'll see how that kind of all plays out. But, yeah, certainly something to keep tabs on. I would say that for the Seahawks' sake, if they can't protect the blind side, if, Darnold with that oblique injury is still an issue, that could really pose problems for their passing attacks, because the 49ers, no disrespect to them, but without Fred Warner, without Nick Bosa, not exactly the same pass rush. So Darnold kind of had all day back there. I don't know if he'll be the same way against the Rams, especially considering how much, give credit where it's due. I mean, Sean McVay's defenses, he's an offensive mind, but his defenses have shown no issue with going after the quarterback and doing so in myriad different ways, whatever it takes to get to a guy.
So I'm super impressed with the head coach, the coaching staff, schemes, all that stuff. But I think it's easy, especially for like our listeners, I'm sure Seattle market's on top of this, to overlook the work of the front office. I mean, you get Zabel and N.U.R.A., I always butcher his name, in this draft. And Murphy, I think, is going to be an absolute star at defensive tackle. You signed Darnold. You signed Lawrence to add them even more D-line depth. I mean, this front office gets an A-plus for their offseason or two.
Oh, my God, yeah. No, it has to. And I think you've seen the proof in the pudding of things like John Schneider being voted by the PFWA as, the executive of the year. Look what he did this offseason, right? Everyone expected this to kind of be like a little bit of a rebuilding year for the Seahawks, considering that you shipped out DK Metcalf, considering that you
Smith
decided to – what's that, sorry?
Geno Smith,
Yeah, you allow Geno Smith to go. You bring in a guy in Sam Darnold who, let's be honest, like kind of a challenging track record. Yes, was excellent last year with the Vikings, but committing $100 million to him, that raises some eyebrows. This was by no means a guarantee. Oh, in second year for being a head coach for Mike McDonald, there was a belief that maybe, okay, this is a team that's going to kind of tread water. Maybe they'll bounce back next year, playing the long game, sort of.
Tough division.
No, they have absolutely been right in the thick of it. And, I mean, come on. Record-wise, they've been arguably the best team in football. I think they've exceeded a lot of expectations, and you got to look toward the front office for why that's been the case.
Few more minutes here with Andrew Destin, talking Seahawks, talking NFC Championship game. Andrew, big part of this season for Seattle, of course. We can't let this conversation end without bringing up Jackson Smith and Jigba to you. You mentioned PFWA awards there a second ago. He was named PFWA Offensive Player of the Year. He's a finalist for the NFL Offensive Player of the Year at the upcoming NFL Awards here in a couple weeks. Because listen, he was always a solid player, but this year he became one of the absolute very best at wide receiver in the National Football League. What was the secret sauce? What was the proof in the pudding? What did you see from him this season that really elevated his game and let him take off like he did?
Well, what didn't I see? It's a fair warning. This is my first year on the beat, but I covered Jackson Smith. I covered Jackson Smith and Jigba a little bit in college because I went to Penn State for college and even Ohio State, saw him in action a few times. Sure. And I think the most notable difference from now versus a few years back with him is just, I mean, he's so much crisper. I mean, his route running is impeccable. But the thing that stayed even keeled, and I've written about this and teammates have talked about it, is that his demeanor has not changed one bit. He's the same guy every day. He never changes. He never wavers. It's excellent, truly. So I think what really stands out to me about him is just that Yeah, I mean, truly, he has continued to improve. It's not like he got taller. It's not like he got bigger. It's not like he got stronger. He learned how to maneuver NFL defenses that much better and kind of take the pressure and run with it. I mean, a lot of these guys, if you're a top receiver, those diva tendencies can sort of start to creep in where, you want the ball more, you need it more, you start to be a little bit more brash and outgoing. That's not this guy. Not even close. And so I think you really got to credit his upbringing, his motivation to be great, and just the way he's wired. I think that's what's allowed him to have the success he's had this year.
So the last thing I got for you is I wanted to dig into the defense because there's a super strong case that it's the best in the league, and if not, it's second. I mean, it's phenomenal. But two aspects of it really stand out to me. And first is the use of Enuari as the big nickel, Kyle Hamilton. Wes and I have been talking about this a lot. The league is really, really trending to these
Cooper DeJean, Brian Branch,
Petrie, these big nickels that just allow you to stay in nickel so often, no matter what the situation is. But also the depth. I mean, they go like at least 15 guys deep that get a lot of snaps.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they most certainly do.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the secret sauce here for why the defense is so good is, yes, the front seven is excellent, and I could highlight guys like Byron Murphy II, Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed, etc. I think the secondary, its ability to weather the storms, it's not just Devin Witherspoon. It's not just Nick Emenwari.
Mm-hmm.
It's Julian Love. It's Kobe Bryant. It's Reek Woolen. It's so many different guys who have risen to the occasion and not been afraid of it. And I think that secondary, it's so much deeper than we were led to believe coming into the year. So even though every one of the guys I listed, I think every one of them dealt with injuries at some point in the season, maybe as innocuous as a concussion, but perhaps a little bit more. I think what you witnessed in the back end is that, it's a Swiss Army knife back there. They have so many different options, so many different ways that they can deploy those guys, and it's really fascinating to watch. So, I just really think that what you're looking at with that secondary is truly, truly one of the best in the league. And it kind of goes under the radar.
Leonard Williams is really their Cam Hayward too, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
The leader, and
the Lion King in the locker room.
Yeah, he's the guy in the locker room. He's the person who's always going to speak out in front of the media on Tuesdays and Wednesdays or what have you. And also, the play speaks for itself.
And he's great,
right? It's the same way as Cam. I will say, Cam Hayward in my time in Pittsburgh, I covered a couple of charity events that he hosted and things of that nature, and he was one of my favorites. He was excellent. Never covered the Steelers full time, but he was excellent.
No, we were actually just talking about him in the previous hour and how we hope, no matter how this all shakes out with the Steelers head coaching search, that Cam Hayward's kind of part of the fold next year and able to be the one who can, pass down the traditions of that locker room to the next group, to the next wave, and kind of continue some of those cultural things that the Steelers have done so well over the years. Andrew,
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew Destin, AP reporter in Washington, based in Seattle, kind enough to give us some time here on this Friday. Andrew, great chatting with you, man. Great stuff. Thank you for taking the time and have fun this weekend.
Of course. Stay safe out there with the snow, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we will do our best. We're going to hunker down and enjoy some football.
Enjoy
for
the
sure.
game.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. We'll talk to you, buddy.
Will do. See you guys.
There he goes. Great stuff.
It was good.
From the West Coast out there in Seattle. Nathan set that up for us, actually. He's got our producer, Nathan, has an old connection with Andrew, so that was awesome.
That was really good.
That was a good breakdown of what I think is what we talked about. You mentioned the DVOA numbers. It could be a game of the year type situation. Matt, this from Seahawks PR, okay?
All right.
This weekend's game will be just the third conference championship game since 1970 to feature the number one scoring offense against the number one scoring defense from the regular season.
Really?
The only other two, the 2014 NFC Championship game, Packers, Seahawks, Russ, Rodgers. I think that one went into overtime, or Seattle.
Legion Boom era.
Seattle won it at the very end dramatically. And the 1980 NFC Championship game between Dallas and Philly.
Wow, okay.
Only the third time number one scoring offense against the number one scoring defense since 1970.
Pretty cool.
Going to be a lot of fun. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk a little bit more about that AFC Championship game. We'll give final thoughts and predictions on both of these games on Sunday before we get up out of here. So plenty more T's to cross and I's to dot.
Love it.
Before we say goodbye to the weekend. We'll do all of that when we return on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment here of The Drive on this Friday for the week. Final few minutes before we get to championship weekend in the AFC and the NFC. Of course, we had plenty of Seahawks talk there in the previous segment. So we'll get back to that and some final thoughts and predictions.
Yeah.
But let's jump into the AFC championship game here to start this one, since we haven't really discussed that at all here today on the program. Obviously, the biggest storyline is the absence of Drake May.
Yeah.
Drake May, pardon me. Bo Nix, other side of the gun. The absence of Bo Nix and Jared Stidham going to lead the Broncos. Patriots 4.5-point favorites, Matt. I think that's about fair. But what is? I think there's still a clear path for Denver to win this game.
I agree.
But it's instead of maybe a lot of different ways, there's just maybe one path for them to win this game.
Yeah.
And that's to play good defense, force Drake May into those turnovers that we've seen, and keep it close and low scoring.
Let's start with when Stidham has the ball. I mean, that's the biggest story here.
Yes.
Yes. We got a beefier segment here. We got 2 games to break down, not 4, 5, 6. So we can kind of talk, you know, each side of the ball. And in case I forget, special teams, too, is pretty even in this game, but greatly favors Seattle. If we could have kept him on longer, I was going to ask, is that stressed heavily in Seattle? The Rams are like worst in the league. Seattle's like best in the league. So if it comes down to that, just want people to know. Also, it's kind of a big picture thing that could affect the Steelers in terms of quarterback search. The league shows, I know Nix isn't playing, but you got Nix at like 15. This is his second season. They don't get there without him. May's in his second season. Jaden Daniels was a rookie last year. All Final Four teams. You can turn things around pretty quickly. The young quarterback does not mean purgatory forever. You know what I mean?
The days of Ben Roethlisberger and Joe Flacco leading their teams to AFC championship games as rookies, and that being a huge storyline, is not really the case anymore.
It's not that big a case anymore. And I had a good conversation on Locked On NFL this morning. We were talking about like legacies of these games too. Like Drake May wins this game. That's his second season. It's like Marino. You know, I mean, Marino in his second year battled Montana and lost, never went back. It's also like Mahomes. You know what I mean? Is that the path that Drake May's on? Like one of those type of guys?
Man.
Maybe. I hope not.
It's so hard because I like Drake May.
I do too.
I know you like Drake May.
Right.
I've told you this harkening back to 2 years ago.
I wish he was a cowboy or an eagle. Or,
exactly
right.
Yeah. A Charger, something. I really respected him heading into his senior year of college because he could have transferred from UNC and gone anywhere that he wanted to.
Oh, you did say that, yeah.
And instead, he stayed at UNC, which was just an okay program. And, you know, both his
But he could have been Bama or Georgia. Right?
Absolutely. Ohio State or wherever, Michigan, Oregon.
Yeah.
He could have transferred to a handful of top schools, would have loved to have. And I'm sure UNC paid him well. Maybe he could have gotten a little bit more money
awesome
or whatever.
Campus,
but,
I bet there.
Oh, incredible. Chapel Hill's incredible. I'm not trying to poo-poo UNC.
Right.
But it's a basketball school. They were an 8-4 team, you know, and he could have played for a UNC equivalent in football, you know, like would be playing for UNC in basketball. But both his parents were Tar Heels. His sister was a Tar Heel.
Yeah.
They were all athletes there. He stayed loyal to the school that he grew up rooting for and believed in him. And he wasn't a slouch out of high school, but he wasn't one of these, you know, absolute dynamite Trevor Lawrence types.
Okay.
I really liked how he stayed at UNC. I admire that in this era of college football as kind of a college football classical purist.
Yeah.
That I still am. And I really liked him when he went to the Patriots. It's just not fair. Like you can't go from Tom Brady to this. Come on, man.
I mean, he was they had the 3rd pick in the draft. This isn't like you were the worst team in the league when Burrow came out. You were the 3rd worst.
This wasn't Lemieux to Crosby.
No.
You know
like the Jets number 2 here. You know, rarely do you get that guy that, you know, I would sit back at 3 and I'll get Daniels, Williams, or May.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty crazy class.
Odd how that's worked.
But my kind of point is next year's class might be similar.
You know,
right.
You can get the Josh Allen, who's not the first one taken. You can get the Mahomes, who's not the first one taken.
And you're in this, you got the infrastructure in place already. The Steelers I'm talking about. So anyway, Denver has the ball. What's the difference between Nix and Stidham? Huge. I think Stidham's a really good backup, by the way. I've kind of been a fan. I mean, I think he's the 35th best quarterback in the league or something like that. I think he's a pretty high-end backup. He can throw the ball well. There's all kinds of, everyone's pumping his tires, obviously, in Denver. But I think they believe, like a lot of the Denver defenders are like, he's a lot better than some of the guys we played against this year. We see him in practice every day. Sure. It's not even close. And they're right. I mean, obviously, you get into backups and things like that, too. But a huge thing, which is super, super important with as aggressive as New England's been, their D tackles have been wrecking shop. They've been blitzing like crazy. But Nix, to his credit, this age, is like the best sack avoidance quarterback in the league.
Something he does really well.
Really well. And he's just a lot better athlete and playmaker when things break down. And I think things are going to break down a lot.
Sure. Milton Williams is coming.
Milton Williams, Barmore, and and their receivers, they're going to press them. And, I think that both defenses are going to be really aggressive. Stidham checks down a lot. Harvey could end up with a lot of catches. But I don't think you need to score a ton of points either. I think the other side of the ball is their path to victory.
Totally.
Yeah.
Drake May has fumbled 6 times in their 2 playoff games. Yeah, I mean, if you can...
He has small hands.
You laughed about it on Monday. You were like, I know people chuckle when we bring this stuff up with Joe Burrow and Kenny Pickett and Drake May, but there's rhyme to the reason. Yeah, 6 fumbles.
It's a little cold out and weather's coming in, and I don't like their protection at all.
And so that to me is the X factor. As long as Denver can keep it low scoring, they're going to have to win that turn. I mean, again, that's football 101 stuff, but I don't mean like win the turnover battle +1. Mm-hmm. Denver needs to be +2 or +3, I think, in the turnover battle.
Yeah.
Give Stidham the ball on the Patriots' 40-yard line at one point, working on a short field. Set him up in plus territory after a turnover, something like that. There's a path for Denver.
Oh, I think there's a path.
It might not be multiple different routes it might not be a choose your own adventure book. You might have to kind of walk a narrow line.
Like Nick Bonito or Patrick Surtain needs to be your MVP in this game.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. And that's the one kicker for the Broncos is you would obviously feel much better still at home, still with that defense, turning to a backup quarterback if you felt a little bit more confident in the run game.
Yeah, and they got away from it last week too. I mean, I'm sure Peyton will get back to it, but anyway. Another thing I wanted to mention is an overarching theme. Mm-hmm. Both the home teams have an extra day of rest. That's important to me late in the year.
Because as the bye team, they played Saturday. Rest advantage, Matthew.
Yeah, you know me, that's one of my big things. I think that absolutely matters, especially this late in the year. I think both these venues are not fun places to play at all. We know Seattle will be rabid, but you also know that I hate going to Denver. I think it's a lot harder than the average fan realizes. Has Drake May ever played in Denver? I don't know. I bet a lot of their guys haven't. And your heart's beating a little faster in the AFC Championship game than it is Week 6. I mean,
the weather might not be great.
Fans are great. So home field and rest definitely favors the Seahawks in Denver. I love May, but I think Denver's defense is going to be really aggressive. And Will Campbell, the left tackle, has really, really struggled. The line in general, to me, still needs work. It took steps in the right direction. The receivers are maybe better than people think, but they're still not as good as Surtain and Moss and the guys covering them.
Yes.
And the other thing, this is another Aaron Schatz thing with DVOA, basically said this is about the easiest path any team has had to the Super Bowl, honestly, since the undefeated Dolphins. Like, people don't think about the undefeated Dolphins team. I don't want to take anything away from them. But if you look at their schedule, it was like the easiest in history.
Okay.
This stuff matters. Right? Yeah,
certainly.
It's like 14 games or whatever. So
every team that's ever won a championship or made it to a championship game or series, you need a little luck. You need some things to fall your way.
Yeah.
And
they played really good defenses the last 2 weeks. The Chargers are well coached. Houston,
but not New England, Matt. I mean, come on. They should have to earn it 10 times over to get back. They need to atone for their sins from the last regime in there still. Come on.
Stroud played terrible like a double agent.
I
mean, Chargers didn't have any offensive tackles. This team's got a backup quarterback, I'm taking Denver to win.
I like that. I like to hear that.
17-16, slow, tough, tight defense in their building. I just don't know that New England's as battle tested as I'm ready to jump on.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Nothing makes me question the existence of a higher power in this world quite like the ongoing success of Boston sports teams in the 21st century. It's like all of them.
TV just sent us a little nugget here from Yahoo Sports that Drake May said, I have not thrown at altitude before. Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't even care about the throwing part as much as just.
Yeah. Oh, it's real.
It's real.
Can I tell you a quick little aside story?
Yeah.
And then we'll move. And then we'll move on to the NFC Championship game, final thoughts and predictions. I have been to Denver a few times. When I was younger, I think I've told you this before, my dad used to play a music festival in Aspen every summer.
Yeah, cool.
And I would always go out with him. Mm-hmm. So like I've been to Denver, been to Aspen, been to Colorado a bunch from the time that I was like 9 until I was 15.
You said it was like in the summer too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were in school.
He'd go out, like leave on a Friday, come back the next Sunday type thing, go out for like 9 days. He'd play like 3 or 4 concerts in Aspen, at rich hoity-toity.
Oh, I'm sure nice spots.
Classical music festivals and wine and jazz and
Sounds awesome.
that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I would just go and tag along with him. That's the time I've told you the story about when I ran into Arnold Schwarzenegger and he high-fived me in the bicycle shop. That was one of those trips. But the last time I did that was, again, probably when I was like 15-ish, like early high school age.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where I was just like, Dad, like I just want to hang with my buddies over the summer, or I was working jobs or whatever, part-time jobs type thing, working at Target, working at Foot Locker, all those part-time jobs I had growing up. When I went back to Denver now 2 years ago when the Steelers played there, that was the Saturday we got in was Backyard Brawl Saturday. Mm-hmm. It was 2 years ago, the crazy Backyard Brawl where WVU scored at Acrisure to go up 10 with like 3 minutes left, and then Pitt went bang, bang. They scored on a 2nd and 30 from the 50-yard line, Pitt did, and they won the Backyard Brawl. They came back, they scored 2 touchdowns in like the last 2.5 minutes to beat WVU in what was a crazy, all-time,
memorable game,
time capsule for the Brawl, but for me, obviously devastating and heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. After that,
you watched it in Denver.
In Denver. I found a WVU bar in Denver, actually. After that game, I was so depressed. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to go back to the team hotel. I didn't want to go out and do it. I just walked around downtown Denver for 2 hours, just aimlessly. Why do I let a bunch of 20-year-olds decide my happiness every Saturday in the fall?
Questioning your life choices.
And over those 2 hours, like every 20 minutes, I'd have to like stop and sit on a bench in the city.
Right.
I saw the whole city because I was just walking around, headphones in, probably listening to the Grateful Dead like I always do.
Yeah.
But like every 20, 30, every
Heart
like 15 minutes.
A little faster,
like and Denver's not really, the city proper is not crazy hilly or anything like that.
You're not climbing. Yeah.
But like every 15, 20 minutes, I would just stop and just sit on a bench, check my phone.
Yeah.
I'd have 30 text messages from the Tom Oppermans and the Dale Lawleys of the world talking trash to me about Pitt, Missy Matthews, and then I just start. But
it absolutely matters.
It absolutely matters. It's real.
It's the hardest place to play in the league.
I didn't realize that when I was 14 years old.
Sure.
But at 32, oh, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like every 15 minutes, I was like, I got to sit down and catch my breath.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge for the Patriots.
I'm
definitely taking the points.
Definitely, I think the Broncos cover. It's actually up to 5.5 now. Mm-hmm. I think that is a really safe bet on Denver's part. I think the Patriots win like a 23-19, low scoring. I don't know. It just seems like everything's lining up for them.
Yeah,
it just seems like it's they're
like rolling out a red carpet.
They had the easy regular season schedule, the late bye week, which lined up really well. Yeah. They got Chargers with a bye Chargers with the decimated offensive line, the Texans with a terrible performance from C.J. Stroud. I don't know. It feels like it's all lining up for the Patriots to get back to a Super Bowl, which I hate, but certainly could be the case. NFC Championship game, Matt. This is the second of the 3 o'clock our time, East Coast, that Broncos-Patriots game. 6:30 NFC Championship game. Seattle favored by 2.5. I asked this question of Andrew, but how big of a piece of the pie do you think the Sam Darnold equation is in this game?
This is another legacy thing. Like if he loses this one, it's going to be like this guy can't win the big game, And if Stafford wins this one, I was having this conversation. It's like I think he's already a Hall of Famer, but if he wins this one and goes on and wins the Super Bowl, I think you're talking about like is that a top 10 guy ever? Not like, is he a borderline Hall of Famer?
Absolutely.
Is it like, do you want Steve Young or him? Do you want Bradshaw or him? You
Sure,
know what I mean? Like,
sure.
it's a big legacy game, as well as Peyton. If Peyton can win with a backup quarterback, we're only going to talk about the coach, not the quarterback. And I also think McDaniel, McVay. If he can win this thing too, it's like, man, that might be an all-time head coach too, and he's not even close to being done.
He's only 39 years old.
Yeah.
That's insane. 2 Super Bowls before 40 would be insane. 3 appearances and 2 rings before 40 would be nuts.
Nuts. He could coach 20 more years. I don't feel strongly about picking this game at all. And we talked about this game more in the last segment, but I think it is a true heavyweight fight. I really have a hard time picking against Stafford in terms of the quarterback matchup. But I think Seattle's clearly playing better football right now. Special teams advantage is real. I think the extra day's rest, the home thing. I think the Seattle's coaching staff is nearly the Rams' equals. Back 7 worries me. I think this could be a big Smith-Njigba game. I'll just take the points, though, because I think it's going to be kind of like an all-time classic and a phenomenal game. And I do trust the Rams, but I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball consistently, and just put up 35
Sure,
like they often do,
So you like Seattle?
With the points.
With the points.
Or no, I'm taking the points.
Okay, so
I'm
you're
gonna
taking the
take
Rams plus
but I
2.5.
think Seattle wins.
Okay, so a real tight. They win a real
yeah.
tight one.
I wouldn't touch it though. In terms of, I feel much stronger about
Like if it was
betting on
if you were getting 3.5 as the Rams instead of 2.5,
then I'd be interested.
Be
At
very
2.5,
interested.
I think is the right number.
I agree. That's a good
I
line.
think it's a total coin flip with the spread.
For some reason, I've just, and I think you're probably in this. I think we've been in the same boat since about, I don't know, sometime between Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought the Rams are the best team in football.
Yeah.
And Seattle's been right there in the conversation,
they've
too.
been
Don't get me
top
wrong.
few,
They
yeah.
might be top 2, top 3, top 4 throughout that entire period. But I think I'm going Patriots-Rams for my Super Bowl prediction, which would be a rematch of, a few years ago. Well, I guess not. It'd be 10 years ago at this point when it was Jared Goff against Tom Brady. That was the last one Brady and Belichick won together. That Patriots-Rams low-scoring Super Bowl.
There's a lot of chances for rematches.
I guess
Seattle
there would be.
Patriots would be.
Seattle.
If the Patriots go, there's
Seattle
gonna be a
Patriots
rematch.
would be one.
Well,
Seattle Denver would be one. Those teams met in the Super Bowl.
The Patriots have gone like 14 times.
Well, this is now, Matt, is it the 15th straight year, I want to say, that either the Patriots or the Chiefs have been in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. Wow.
It's like 15 straight years.
Yeah, it's getting old.
It's getting old.
And this is a new regime, too. They may not be going away. Right. Just when you thought you got rid of one,
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Is that the Godfather 3?
That's 3. Yeah.
Pacino?
Yep.
It's not a great one, but the Pacino still has a couple
moments, though.
Pacino
Yeah.
has a couple moments. It's impossible to live up to 1 and 2. I mean, come on. So you're going Broncos Rams or Broncos Seahawks?
I'm going to go Broncos Seahawks, but I'll take the points in the second one. Yeah.
I'm gonna go Patriots Rams. Look at that. I don't think we've ever been that divided before. That'll be good. So there we go. Championship weekend. Hopefully it's a lot of fun. Everybody stay safe out there with the reported weather that's coming across the entire country.
Pretty crazy, yeah.
Be smart, all right? And weather pending, because I guess there is a scenario where if it really gets apocalyptic Sunday night, who knows what our status is for Monday.
Yeah, I haven't given that much thought, but I guess it's possible, right?
But weather pending, we'll be back on Monday with a Super Bowl set.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure plenty of more moving and shaking across the coaching landscape in Pittsburgh and the entire NFL. So, we got some thank yous for today, don't we, Matt? Goodness gracious. A couple guests.
Double guests.
And everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, first double guest day we've had here.
2 new guests.
Big thanks to Alan Saunders and to Andrew Destin for their time. Thanks to Nathan for producing and setting us up with Andrew from Seattle. Big shout out, as always, to Tyler V. TV for creating the set list and keeping us handsome on YouTube on the video side of things. For Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Everybody have a good weekend. Enjoy the football, and we will talk to you next week. As always, you know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. It's Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.